But if you're gonna have a long discussion, I think Dawood wanted to say something first. Then go. You can go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Give me just a second. I actually think this might be beneficial to a lot of us, a lot of people here.
Yeah,
So,
sure, sure.
yeah. So, this is about like someone online who corrected someone who published a really good recent article. I think it's a major contribution, actually. A good article written by John Hoover, Ibn Taymiyya, on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The reason I say it's a major contribution is because I think it's good that more. This is a well referenced, well respected article, like online peer reviewed article website that has different topics on philosophy or encyclopedia. And I think obviously coming from a Western standpoint, like it's Western based, but the fact that they have uh, a page on Ibn Taymiyyah, a Muslim philosopher, I think is really good. So, anyways, now somebody online has claimed YouTube favorite famous brother has claimed to like correct it, and I want to say something, and I posted the links in the chat to the article and to like the correction. The first thing I want to say is so there's one way in which it's a it's a big thing for so the YouTuber was claiming like, look, this guy who is an academic who published this article in a peer reviewed, well referenced, well respected journal or sorry website. The fact that some random YouTuber was able to correct him just goes to show like these academics aren't all that impressive. That was kind of like the point. And what I want to do is like let's look into that a little bit more. So what is the issue? For one way of understanding the issue is the YouTuber corrected the academic John Hoover. He corrected him by pointing out an error, a fundamental error in the article about Ibn Taymiyyah's thought. Now, that wasn't all. The YouTuber claimed that that this was such a significant error that the author John Hoover went back to the article and redid the article. He edited the article, so that's major. So do you guys understand? So there's two parts. One part where he just corrects him, or he quote unquote claims to correct him. So you know why that's like insignificant, because it could just be him having a disagreement, and then we are all left to judge whether or not the correction was really like significant, whether the YouTuber was right and the author was wrong. But then but it's much stronger than that. The author, what the YouTuber is claiming is the author even went back and edited. Okay, so now that everyone's up to speed, so but Miriam, when we look into this the post, if you click on the Twitter account,
Yeah, yeah, I
you'll
did.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he's asking Hoover, where you need to provide reference for this idea under ontology that all existence, including God, are concrete particulars capable of being perceived by the five senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Whatever cannot be perceived by the five senses does not exist for basically for Ibn Taymiyyah. Now, under his ontology. Now, when you look at the actual article, so go and read. Let me. When you go to the article says so the article. This is obviously new, right? All existence, including God, are concrete particulars capable of being perceived by at least one of the five senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Now, the difference, there are two edits here. One is mahsus, where mahsus is spelled differently. So the transliteration, it's kind of like a typo. The transliteration is different. So apparently, based on this Twitter, the author went back to edit the transliteration. But then he also includes, he qualifies not just being perceived, are concrete particulars capable of being perceived by the five senses, which could lead people to mean all the five senses, But he's saying no, by at least he qualifies it by at least one of the five senses. Now, now to take a step back, I just want to point out. I don't know what people think of this, but I think this is like a really insignificant error because I mean, it's kind of like saying, "Hey, look, it's insignificant relative to what it is the YouTuber is trying to claim." Right? If he's trying to claim like, look, these academics, they don't know anything because like, I caught this guy, in his article. That's not a big thing. Like, I can correct even Einstein on like a typo. And this is where for non-Muslims, this is the significance of the Quran, because the Quran doesn't have typos. But yeah, even I can correct like Einstein on a typo. And am I gonna go around like it's a bit like, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but it's a bit cheap to like go around and pat myself on the back because like, oh, I'm smarter than I got a win over Einstein because I corrected him on a on a typo. Now, I think it would be significant if, especially because if you read the rest of the passage and even the rest of the section, nowhere does it suggest that Hoover held that all existence had to be perceived by strictly by all the five senses, all the five senses. I mean, he talks a lot, and any amateur who knows anything about Ibn Taymiyya knows like it's the main sense is going to be the sight. And in the section, he goes on to talk about how the prophets, the prophets, where you say that we're going to
Okay,
see
but
that we're going to perceive Allah.
I think we can all agree if it was a typo, it's not even worth mentioning. But is that all he's talking about? Are you sure that is just a typo, nothing
Yeah,
else?
so okay, I'm glad you asked that question. So I actually don't know because maybe, so first of all, as you and I both know, like this wasn't the YouTuber in the chat in the
Yeah,
Twitter,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe there was something else. I just went to Hoover's because he said, he mentioned like, oh, we had this exchange on Twitter. I went to the Twitter and I saw this exchange, and it would make sense that this YouTuber, sorry, this Twitter holder, Abdurrahman, it would make sense if he caught like the error or something because this guy, speaks Arabic. I would assume he can access the primary sources. Maybe they did it together because from what I understand, like they're friends or you know compatriots and whatever. So maybe it was together. But the point is, unless there's something else that I'm missing, and sorry, and I want to say, and then clearly the article does seem to be edited, based on from what you read in the Twitter to what is the actual current article. It does seem so. The visually speaking, it does seem like all of this is consistent with what the YouTuber was saying, but I can't be sure if this, because the YouTuber doesn't really mention what the issue was. I can't be sure if this was the exact issue or if it was something else. But this seems to
Yeah.
have been the one thing that was edited out. Now I even ran the articles through ChatGPT to see like what was different from this article and like earlier versions of the article, and it seemed like so it gave me like two conflicting answers. One answer, it said like it couldn't really see, it questioned if the article was even different at all, but then it did notice it by on its own notice the transliteration, sorry, change. It did notice that, and it said that was changed, and it was a small change.
Yeah, I can't comment until we know exactly what I know what you're saying. You're saying you've tried your best to try and like find out what the small error was, but we'll have to check. Like we'll have to find out what is he's talking about, and then
I
see.
want to say this could be consistent with the YouTuber, and the reason why is because I think this is my point. Sometimes I think I think there was so I think there was a little bit of dishonesty, and here's why. Because he also mentioned like he corrected some of his professors. I don't know if correction means like, oh, I corrected them on a fact, because you can have a disagreement, but that's not like really a correction because they could just disagree with you. They could say like, yeah, you think he has this view and I don't think he has this view, have this view. and then you guys can both have evidence. And there's a lot of scholars and academics in the field that have like differences of opinions on thinkers, on topics, on subjects, and that's fine. So you can have that. So that's number one. I was very curious to look into this Twitter exchange only because he said that no. The author went as far as to edit the article. I think that's huge. But when you look back into when you look back into that, it's such a minor. It's like, here's how minor it is. It's kind of like him think after, like, having that the Twitter exchange, him thinking to himself, like, you know what, maybe I could better word this so that it doesn't lead to a misreading. Because from what I see, it seems like he just clarified it so that it doesn't lead to a misreading. Unless I'm wrong, unless you guys read it and you guys feel like there's something else, there's something deeper happening. But I think this would be consistent with him, right? The YouTuber thinking like, oh, I made a major change because number one, he got a big time professor, academic, to edit a peer reviewed. Peer reviewed means other professors went through it. Other professors read it, with a what is it called, like a fine comb or something. Like they read the whole thing, and he was able to get it to be edited. So I think from his standpoint, he can view this, and maybe from other people who listen to him, they can view this as like, wow, this is a major, this is a big thing, this is a big he really quote unquote corrected him or really got him. But what I'm trying to say is, I think they are the like academics who are familiar with this, and then him and his fan base, they're going to perceive this differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like I said to you, if it's a typo, there's no point even like us. Just we know, me and you know that a typo is not something you brag about catching a typo
I want to. I just
in public.
want to clarify one important point. But it's more than it's a typo from his standpoint. It's more than a typo, because from his standpoint, it's like a typo. But then, like let me read back the all senses reading. When asks him, provide a reference for this. He's saying, where does Ibn Taymiyyah state that all existents are capable of being perceived by the five senses of sight, hearing, smell, touch. So John Hoover says all existence, including God, are concrete particulars capable of being perceived by the five senses. So sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. From their standpoint, they can say you are making Ibn Taymiyyah seem like an anthropomorphous. Where does it say that Ibn Taymiyyah held that God can be smelled? Right? Isn't that what, when you read it? I'm on the Twitter right now. When you read that, doesn't it seem like it's saying that? Like all existence, including God, but all existence are capable of being perceived by the five senses, including paradise and everything that exists is capable of being perceived by the five senses. And whatever cannot be perceived by the five senses does not exist. So if God cannot be smelled, stuff, but that's kind of like the reading, and they're like, wait, where you made a fundamental error. So what I'm trying to be fair to both of them. I'm saying, like, I can understand from the YouTuber, I can understand from his standpoint why this would be a huge error. But all I'm trying to say is, yeah, clearly, like I think a holistic reading of like Hoover, and even reading like his other works, and not even just like reading Hoover, but or reading the rest of the section. But like, honestly, even a layperson who knows about Ibn Taymiyyah would know, like, that's not. I don't know, like that's I don't know how that's like the most uncharitable reading, to read it that way. But in either way, that's what he wanted to like kind of like clarify. Now he clarified it to all existence, including God, are concrete particulars capable of being perceived by at least one of the five senses. So he clarified it in that sense.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I'll have to know from him. I know you've done your investigation. I'd like to hear from him what he thinks he corrected it. why and what value he saw in it. Was it just, did he see it as a typo, or was it something else he saw?